Hello, geometry people. We're going to apply the Pythagorean theorem to rectangles and squares. Well, the Pythagorean theorem only works with right triangles. Well, how is it going to work with a rectangle and a square then? Well, the rectangles and squares both have right angles, do they not? There's a rectangle and there's a square. Not drawn perfectly, but a square has all four sides equal. That's what those marks mean. A rectangle has opposite sides equal. That's what those marks mean. So, how do we get our right triangle? By drawing in the diagonals. Once we have the diagonals drawn, we get right triangles. So, let's first do a couple rectangle problems. Here's a rectangle. If the width is 5 and the length is 12, let's find the diagonal. Well, if that is 5, over here is 5 also, and it's a right angle, so there is our right triangle. We're trying to find the hypotenuse, which when we use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared, c is always the hypotenuse. So this is going to be 5 squared plus 12 squared is equal to c squared. 25 plus 144 is c squared. 169 is c squared. Now let's square root each side to get c, and the square root of 139 is 13. It's a perfect square. Let's do one more rectangle problem. Let's say we're given the diagonal is 9 and we're given the width is 3. Let's find the length. Let's call that x. Well, again, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The 9, the hypotenuse, plugs in for c. Now, the 3 and the x are the a and the b. It doesn't matter which one is which. I'm going to say 3 squared plus x squared equals 9 squared. You could have left it b also. The variable doesn't matter. The position is what's important. So we get 9 plus x squared is equal to 81. Now let's subtract the 9. X squared is 72. So now let's square root that. X is the square root of 72. 72 is not a perfect square. However, let's see if we can simplify it. What perfect squares are factors of 72? The perfect squares are 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. 36 goes into 72 twice, and the square root of 36 is 6. 6 square root of 2. Now, one way you can always check if you simplified correctly, take your calculator, do square root of 72. Take your calculator, do 6 times square root of 2. You're going to get the same answer if you've done it correctly. Now, let's do a couple square problems, and you might see an interesting pattern forming. Okay, if we have a square and one side is 3, let's find the diagonal. Well, since it's a square, all the sides are 3. So to find the diagonal, it's going to be 3 squared plus 3 squared is equal to c squared, because the diagonal is the hypotenuse. 9 plus 9 is c squared. 18 is c squared. Square root of 18 is c. Let's simplify the square root of 18. Well, 9 goes into it twice, and we get 3 square root of 2. I'm going to do 2 more and see if you can tell a pattern. Let's do another square whose side is 5. That means all the sides are 5, and to find the diagonal, it's going to be 5 squared plus 5 squared is c squared. 25 plus 25 is c squared. 50 is c squared. Square root of 50 is c. What perfect square goes into 50? 25 times 2, and we get 5 square root of 2. All right, let's do one more and see if you can spot the pattern. let's do a square whose sides are 10 and 10. Let's find the diagonal. Remember, squares have right angles, so we get right triangles. 10 squared plus 10 squared is c squared. 100 plus 100 is c squared. 200 is c squared. Square root of 200 is c. Well, that's going to be 102 when we break it down, and we get 10 square root of 2. So, look what happened. When the side was 3, the diagonal was 3 square root of 2. When the side is 5, the diagonal is 5 square root of 2. When the side is 10, the diagonal is 10 square root of 2. That's always going to happen for a square. Whatever the side is, pick a number. I'm going to call it 8. If the side is 8, the diagonal is 8 square root of 2. You don't even have to work it out. It's always going to be like that. The only little twist you may get with a square is instead of the side, they may give you the perimeter. Let's say the perimeter is 24. The perimeter is the sum of all 4 sides. All 4 sides are equal. So if I take 24 and divide it by 4, I'm going to get 6. The side S is equal to 6. Well, if the side is 6, what's the diagonal? Guess what? 6 square root of 2. Correct. That's the Pythagorean theorem applied to rectangles and squares. Good luck on your assignment.